D fam? Welcome back to the greatest Houston-based podcast in the world, the Weekend D podcast. I'm your host, Danny G. And today we got a very special guest. He's a comedian. You might have seen him in Houston. He was out here for a minute. He did shows at the Riot, at the Secret Group, in the Box. Now he's coming out of Houston. His name is Jessi Saldana. What's up, man?
Yeah,
How you
what's up?
doing?
What's up? Doing good. Thank
How's
y'all for
life
having me
been?
on. Oh man,
Oh,
pretty
man.
good. Came out to Austin, trying to do more comedy out here, but I'll still say I'm a Houston comic.
You're a Houston comic? Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
How long were you doing comedy out here in Houston?
So I started in Houston, so 7 years. 7 years of comedy in Houston. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll still count the COVID year. Why not?
Why not, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you were out here.
Yeah, and
How,
we were still doing shows that whole time.
were you?
Not
Damn. I
like
didn't know.
in the city, but like
Uh-huh.
in the
Like on the
outskirts.
outskirts?
Yeah.
Oh, hell
Bar
yeah.
shows, they were brutal. But it
I
was,
bet, man.
I mean, yeah, it was, I mean, COVID was interesting.
Oh, for sure. For sure, for sure. I mean, what was that like, though? Because, like, I know a few people in the comedy scene here in Houston, and, like, everyone had a completely different experience, right? Depending on
Yeah.
how long they've been doing it. Like, what was that like when COVID started happening and like you started getting these like trying to figure out how where you're gonna gig and things like that.
So I never quit my day job. You know, that hacky thing that people say, hey, don't quit your day job. Well,
Uh-huh.
that's actually the best advice I ever got was to not quit my day job. Because when COVID started, so many comics that I knew were worried about how they were going to make rent, stuff like
Hmm.
that. I wasn't worried about any of that because I still had
Hell
my
yeah.
job. They just sent me home to work. So I said, I mean, it did suck not doing shows or whatever, but for me, I
Hmm.
was like, this will blow over fast, you
Yeah.
know? Because when COVID started, I was like, this will be a couple weeks and then we'll be back to normal. Nope. Wow, I was so wrong, man. But actually,
Yeah.
that year, I had just started doing a bunch of shows out here in Austin, and I was like, all right, stuff's going all right out here. And then that happened, and I was just like, all right, I'll just stay in Houston. Because I mean, after a while, we started doing shows in like bars in the outskirts of Houston, which we weren't supposed to be doing. But
Hmm.
the people that were going didn't care. We didn't care. Yeah, comedy was still
Um,
happening. We just weren't
Texas,
promoting it.
yeah, Texas did a beautiful thing when it came to the COVID, man. After a while,
Irresponsible,
everyone
some would say.
a little bit irresponsible, but I mean, come on now, we had to survive, we
Yeah,
had to get out there, we had to live life, and I don't know. Me being like someone that grew up in California and then moving to Texas at a young age, I've always appreciated Texas like on a whole nother level. And
yeah,
like when I saw that, California was just shutting down, New York was shut down, and Texas was like, nah, we're gonna get back to work, we're gonna keep
yeah.
going. Like I was like, man, that's awesome. And Texas is all about lifting yourself by the bootstraps and just moving forward. And that was super dope to see, especially during COVID. I mean, I myself have a day job, and I was lucky to be considered essential. Although I don't
Yeah.
know how lucky that is, right?
I don't
Because
know. They just sent me to work from home, and I loved it. I actually,
yeah,
whenever they started lifting the restrictions and they tried to get us to go back to the office, I quit my job and I got a work from home job.
yeah,
um, but no, man. I mean, like, it, it it definitely was a crazy thing to live through, but
hmm
yeah, people were still coming out to shows and stuff. Um, but I did feel bad because we weren't supposed to be doing that. We were
yeah,
doing everything we weren't supposed to be doing. We were like fitting people into a tight room. Nobody was wearing masks.
right.
It was dumb. But I felt like I was healthy enough to where I was like, if I get it, I'll be fine. But
hmm
I was see, that's the thing that I don't know if comics will admit it or not, but we're selfish, man. That's why
You
we
gotta be a
go
little
on
bit selfish.
stage and talk so much because we're selfish, man.
Uh-huh.
I was only thinking about myself. I wasn't thinking about who I was putting at risk or none of that. And I lived alone, so for
Hmm.
me, I was like, hey, if you want to risk it coming out to a show, and you know, everybody knew the risks,
Hmm.
that was on us. But that
Yeah.
is something about Texas. It's like, hey, you know the risk.
Uh,
Go if you
yeah.
dare.
You go if you dare, right? Tread your own water.
Yeah.
No, that's fucking awesome. Yeah, I remember, dude. I worked as a mechanic during COVID, and I
Yeah.
was like, all right, man. Like, I started hearing all my friends were like, oh yeah, I'm getting like all this unemployment money and this and that. I was like, damn, dude, I gotta work while y'all
Oh
just sitting at
yeah.
home.
Well, I think a lot of comics benefited from that. A lot of comics, including myself, learned how to make content because
Hmm.
we didn't have anything else to do. You had to do
Yeah.
something.
Hmm.
I know a lot of people started podcasts. A lot of people started doing more stuff like TikTok specifically.
Hmm.
Man,
Yeah.
TikTok blew up. Nobody had anything
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
Everybody was going. You remember everybody was going live on Instagram? Yeah,
Yeah.
I never did a Zoom comedy show, but I did a couple of live Instagram comedy shows. They were terrible.
Oh, dude, how is that? Because you get no feedback,
Yeah,
right?
I've heard a couple of comics. It's been more comics say that they hated it than the ones that say that
Hmm.
they liked it. But
Hmm.
I have met a few that like the virtual comedy shows. It's not for me.
That's crazy because I know like a lot of the ways you tell that your joke's hitting is by hearing people laugh or
Yeah.
you get some sort of instant feedback and through a camera like that must have been weird sitting in a room just telling your jokes and
Oh
hoping
man,
they're
I did
they're
not
hitting.
like it. There was one. Luckily, I never saw the light of day. Somebody messaged me to record myself doing stand up in my living room, like a 1 minute video, submit
Uh,
it, and they were going to put this thing together and blah, blah, blah. I did it, sent it, never heard back from them. Must have been pretty bad. But I hated doing it. I reshot it a bunch of times and I was
mhm.
like, this sucks. This isn't even good. I don't even know if they ever actually did anything with all the video submissions they got, but
Yeah.
whatever. No,
Mhm.
I want people right there giving me instant feedback.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, is that the most gratifying thing about doing comedy is getting
Oh
that
yeah.
instant feedback? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah,
like
man. It's
I
addicting, man.
yeah, I try to dabble. I asked this because I try to dabble in comedy, right? I still every now and then I'll write jokes and kind of like go over them to myself, but I rarely do open mics because the first time I did an open mic, I didn't get a single laugh. I was
Oh,
like,
that
this might
sucks.
not be for me.
That does hurt. Whenever I host shows, something I always start off the show with is if you hate a joke or you're offended by something that a comic says, just don't laugh. That's gonna hurt more than anything you can yell out.
Dude, that's
It's
the worst when
the
you.
silence. The silence hurts more than anything.
I think the worst thing I ever experienced doing open mics was I could hear someone pouring a drink, a
Oh,
bartender, and I was like, "Oh man, maybe I should reconsider this."
man, believe it or not, there's been a couple of shows that there was an actual cricket in the room. Yeah, it's
Oh
more. It happens
man.
more often than you think because we're in Texas.
Hmm.
There's just
Yeah,
crickets everywhere,
got those crickets in the
especially in Houston and Austin. There's crickets all over the damn place,
yeah.
and
So
they find
being
their way in there.
yeah, I bet man they like that the dampness
Hmm.
of the rooms and stuff. No, but yeah, that was the worst thing ever. Like that's why I asked like what's that feeling to get a laugh because I didn't get the laugh the day I tried it. The couple times I tried it, but I mean comedy is
Well,
something different, man. Like to do what you're doing, it takes such a skill set because so many people, including myself, we get told, "Oh, you're funny, you should go try to do this on
yeah.
stage." But doing it on stage is completely different. Oh
I
my
need
god,
a
crazy!
pause for the
Yeah,
camera.
give me 1 second. I'll just disconnect it real quick.
Okay.
We're good though.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that's really why I started to do stand up because I used to watch so much of it that I didn't know I was doing stand up at house parties. I thought
Oh,
I was just telling crazy stories from like stuff that I did with my old friends to all these white people I was hanging out with. And then this guy, he was like, "Hey man, you should do stand up." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Right? And then he's like, "All you got to do is say the same story you just said in front, at this party on stage,
Uh-huh.
and it'll get laughs. Like you're getting laughs in my living room. You can do this on a stage. You know, it's just I didn't listen to him. I thought he was nuts.
Mm-hmm.
But 5 years later, somebody put a show together that was like all first timers, and I signed up for that.
Mm-hmm.
After the first laugh, I felt like no nerves.
Mm-hmm.
Just kept doing my set and never looked.
Oh
Man,
yeah.
like it's just. I mean, there's been a bunch of times that I've thought about not doing comedy, like quitting, because
Uh-huh.
there's a lot of frustrating parts to making it or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But you got to remind yourself why you even started, because you like making people laugh.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's so
Exactly.
easy to get caught up in all the other stuff,
Yeah.
like especially when somebody gets things that you think you should be getting.
Yeah.
You can't help but be competitive and compare yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll drive you nuts if you let it get the best of you, because you really
Yeah.
have to remember, why did you go to those shitty open mics? Why did you go perform in front of empty chairs? Because you like this. You like entertaining people. It's not
Mm-hmm.
about, all the other stuff. But at
Yeah.
the same time, it is about all that other stuff.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you want to
Because,
make it. Everyone wants to make it at
yeah,
that point, right?
there comes, I mean, after doing comedy for a few years, you get peeks into what it could be, what it could turn
Mm-hmm.
into. And you're just like, I want that so bad. Like it's right there. But you talk to people
Yeah.
that do have that stuff, and it's like, man, I hate this shit. But I mean, that's the goal. That's the goal,
Right?
to build a fan base, to get people to come to shows and stuff like that.
Hell yeah. Ever have a show that you think back on and you're like, damn, that was like my favorite show to do?
Oh yeah, yeah, man. There's been a bunch of like, it's weird. Big shows are great.
Mm-hmm.
Making hundreds of people. I've never done it thousands of people, but making hundreds of people laugh at the same time. I tell a lot of stories. So for me, whenever I pause and it's just dead silent and there's over 100 people in there, I was like, I know I have control of this room, and they're waiting
Uh-huh.
for the next thing I have to say. That's great. But also, I've done shows. It's like 10 people in a
Mm-hmm.
basement. It's dark. It's very intimate. Those shows are. It's the two opposite ends
Uh-huh.
that are
Those
the
live with you
best.
forever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Both of those ends are really, really good, because and on one end you're getting them right there with you. You feel like
Mm-hmm.
also it's so intimate, but then on the other end, when it's big, big shows, it's like, man, this is the best. You feel like you're the best comic in the world. And anybody that tells you different is lying to themselves.
Yeah.
When you're up there and you're getting those laughs, you're like, oh, I can do this for real.
Yeah. Dude, I bet.
Yeah,
I bet like I bet that's such a driving force, especially on a like I completely understand what you're saying because like I'm a fan of comedy, right? Like I'm a
yeah,
huge fan of comedy. I love going to the hole in the wall shows. I love going to the big shows. But like me personally, my favorite shows are always the smaller shows.
oh yeah,
Like I love like I mean the biggest show the big shows that I like to see, they're usually at the improv, which is still a small crowd. And
yeah,
I don't know why. I love that feeling of being like right there,
yeah,
seeing the comic do his thing and just like the way he moves and you can really see everything he's doing. And I've always been a fan of those like small intimate shows. Which is why the secret group's like one of my favorite places to go watch a show is because it's so small,
yeah.
especially in the box. I mean, you're sweating in there in the middle of summer trying to survive the heat, but I love that intimacy because you really get to see like the comic just do his thing and the way you guys think while you're on stage is it's so impressive to me.
Well, the box at the Secret Group in Houston, right by the Astros ballpark. If anybody
Mm-hmm.
doesn't know, that's one of my favorite places to go, because that's like my home club. Like that's where
Mm-hmm.
I have performed at the most.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm there, I feel comfortable. I go up when I do a weekend show in the box. I know I'm gonna have a good set, which sounds arrogant, but I just know I'm gonna have a good set no matter what. and I do feel more comfortable, and the audience can tell that you feel comfortable, and you mess around a little bit, you try new stuff in the middle of your old stuff. It's so much. I'm having fun, and because I'm having fun, the crowd has fun too. And there's another place in San Antonio called the Blind Tiger. It's downstairs from a child's theme restaurant. Like you walk in there, it's a restaurant. You'll see Woody from Toy Story and Cinderella from Disney, like a Captain Jack, and you're like, what? But then you go downstairs and there's a comedy room down, and it's one of the best. It's one of my favorite places to do comedy, man, because it's cramped. You're in there, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
I
fun
love that,
spot.
man. I love those kind of spots. How's the Creek and the Crave? Because I saw that you host a show there on Tuesdays, right?
Oh, Creek in the Caves, it's a pretty big room, pretty decent sized room. It's when it's packed out, it's awesome, but there's a lot of nights that it's not packed out. That the room is so big, it just feels empty
It
when
feels
it's
empty.
not even empty.
Uh-huh.
But that is the downside of a big room. But the plus side is on the weekends it does fill out. Hundreds of people go
Yeah.
there.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of big comics have filmed their specials there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
you saw Shane Gillis' special. He did that at
I
Creek in
just
the
watched
Cave.
it the other
Yeah,
night. Yeah.
one of the best specials I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, some nights we have almost 100 people show up. Last night we had 2 people show up.
That happens, man.
But
That's the thing with comedy,
it
right?
is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. But I find that so crazy about comedy because like I've been to shows as well, like in LA, and like you go in and dude's killing it, but there's like 5 people in there.
Yeah.
And you're just like, man, like when the right person sees him, like they're just gonna pop off. I mean that's like with Ralph Barbosa, right? The
Yeah.
right people saw him and he became like the next big thing, which is awesome. It's awesome to see a Texas dude, make it up
Well,
like that.
in my
But I
opinion, Ralph was different.
mhm,
I still remember the first time I did a show with him. He got it.
yeah,
You could tell immediately. He got it. Like he's
yeah,
funny, but he has something else to him. And
yeah.
I'll never be able to describe it to you, but he has whatever it is, he has it.
Hmm.
There's other comics that I've seen that have it. But that something about doing comedy now is like, I mean, I think it's been the case always. Like being funny is not enough.
No, you gotta
You
have a
gotta
little bit
have that
extra.
little something extra, and I don't know what that extra. Yeah, if I knew what it was, I would.
But I mean, you're on your way up there. I mean, when I like I said, I'm a big fan of comedy, and especially here in the local scene. Like I watch as many shows as I can, and I've
Yeah,
seen you several times. And like when I see you take that stage, like I can see that you got it. Like you're there. Um, and I mean, I'm sure this move to Austin's gonna open a whole bunch of new opportunities for you, and like you're gonna see a whole new world. You just got to keep that grind going.
well, it's funny you mentioned that because in Houston, I feel so comfortable
Hmm.
because that's where I started. I just feel like this is me, right?
Yeah,
But out here, I feel like a new comic,
yeah.
which I didn't think that was going to happen to me. 'Cause I was being a little arrogant, but
Hmm.
yeah, I now when I go up, feeling like I'm starting all over again, stuff like that, and I mean that happens to a lot, but a lot of comics when you move to a different city. But the trick is to not show it.
It's
You
adapt.
know?
I mean, honestly, it's to adapt and integrate, right?
Yeah,
Because,
yeah.
like, I mean, the references that hit here in Houston, they're not gonna always hit in Austin, because Austin's so different than Houston.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
it's crazy
big
that
time.
it's within the same state, but they're completely different. But I mean, I'm sure give it a couple months, dude. You're gonna feel it out and start, really doing your thing out there, just like you did it here. I mean, the best thing about comedy is that there's always gonna be someone that's gonna like your joke. There's always gonna be like someone that's gonna follow you. Because I mean, everyone lives a different path, a different walk of life. But with that
Yeah.
being said, like we all have similar backgrounds, right? Like there's someone that has walked the same walk you have, or is very similar to it. And then you tell a joke, and you're just like, "Fuck, man, I can relate to that." Like I was listening to one of the jokes you had on your Instagram, where you were talking about like hanging out with a bunch of white dudes, and some white guy came up to you, rubbing his belly,
Oh yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
asking you some racist shit. And like
yeah.
when I heard that,
People love that joke, man.
I was dying, dude, because like I grew up here in Houston working on tractors, right? So like I had that personal experience myself where I was integrating myself in a business that was ran completely by white people.
Yeah.
So I got to hear it all, man. I got to hear all the racist jokes, all the crazy shit they do. But when you said that, it killed me. Especially when you went down to, give me another natty light. Let me.
Oh. Well, I mean, dealing, especially in Texas, dealing with racism is so common. It's
Hmm.
something that so many people have to deal with. That's why I'll bring it up. I
Yeah.
don't care, man. I'll bring it up, and I bring it up from my point of view because this is what I experienced.
Hmm.
Um, and some people say, when I started, I didn't know how to deliver the jokes
Hmm.
how I do them now. I was
Yeah.
just kind of complaining about racism. At some points, I was just sounding racist. It takes a long time to be able to tell a bit that has to do with racism because you have to be
Hmm.
able to make it funny.
Hmm.
Because if it's not, you just sound like an
Sound
asshole.
like an ass.
But yeah, I mean, I like that. That's one of the first jokes I ever wrote, and I still say it sometimes. I love telling that joke.
Hmm.
People like it because yeah, I mean, it's growing up in the South is something you have to learn how to deal with. I
Yeah.
feel like it's getting a lot better as the older I get. Like,
Hmm.
uh, but it's still not gone. It's still
Oh
there.
no.
I
Yeah.
drive. I drive a lot. Most of the gigs that I go to, I drive. And I'll
Hmm.
stop in some small town and go to a diner or go to pump gas in some shitty town, and I'm just get looks because
Yeah.
they don't. I mean, they're used to Mexicans being around, but like I did think that Mexicans and I say Mexicans instead of Latinos because I can't speak
Mhm.
for all Latinos. I'm gonna speak about what I
Yeah.
know. I know
Yeah.
what it's like to be Mexican here. Um, I do a lot of shows with my boy Jeb Joe,
Hmm.
and I thought we had like the same kind of struggles, dealing with racism. Nah, bro, it's so much worse for a black man.
Yeah.
They man, they would treat me better than or not even treat me better, but I wouldn't get the types of looks he would get. And
Hmm.
it was just because he's black at some random ass gas station in some
Yep.
town off of I-10.
Yep.
That doesn't matter, that we
Yep.
didn't need to stop to, but
But you still did.
part of me is just like we live in America, we should be able to stop wherever we want, which is
I
kind
don't
of
know, man.
dumb, but whatever.
I've tried that a few times. Well, one of the funniest things that has ever happened to me is one night I went to this bar with my friend who was like the original co-host to this podcast.
Yeah.
His name's Daniel as well. Like I'm Daniel, he's Daniel. That's why it's called the Weekly D.
Oh, okay. I did
And
want to ask you why you named
but yeah, yeah, he
that.
was the white Daniel and I was the brown Daniel, the Hispanic Daniel. And one day we went to this bar and we met some biker dude, right? And like we're just cracking jokes with them, having a good time, drinking beers, buying them shots. He's like, "Man, y'all need to go back with me and let's go party. Let's go really party."
With the
And we're
biker.
like, with the biker, and we're like,
Yeah,
"All right."
y'all are
I
making smart
mean,
decisions.
we're 21. It was in Conroe. We're like, "All right, fuck it, let's just
They
go."
want to go,
We go to this party, bro.
bro. Not
And
in Conroe, man.
it's at an ice house, right? Like this is
Yeah,
where the red flag started. I was like,
I
okay, we're at
know
an ice
exactly where
house.
you were. I grew up in the Conroe area. You were off of 1488,
Yep,
right?
yep,
Right when you're leaving the Woodlands, right before you get into Conroe. That's where
yep,
you were. I know. I did a comedy
yep.
show there once.
Bro, I walked in there. I was the only person of color, and I was scared for my life. But I was like, all right, the only thing I can do is make a couple of these dudes laugh, hopefully, and
Yeah,
hopefully I'll walk out of here okay. Well, I mean, it was a great time. We partied with them, a bunch of bikers. There's a fight after that we did before that.
of course there
But
was.
it was like one of the funniest things that had ever happened to me because like as soon as I walked in, everyone looked at me and I was like, oh shit! Like I stood behind my friend. I was like, you walk first.
Man, I don't remember who booked that show there. There's only one biker bar up there, and I'm pretty
Hmm.
sure that's the one you were at, the one that I did
Hmm.
a show. I don't remember who booked that show, but I just remember when I walked in there, I was so mad at them for putting on that damn show. Went up, did my thing. I thought I had a bad set.
Uh-huh.
I go to the restroom after the show. Some dude comes up. He was like, "Hey man, you were funny." I was like, "Man, I thought I was dying up there." He's like, "Man," he's like, "Ain't nobody gonna laugh at nothing here. Like you're gonna get some chuckles, but that's
Yeah.
it."
No, I was so scared that night, dude. I literally grabbed my friend. I was like, dude, you walk in first. I'm not about to get my ass kicked for no reason.
Man, I just remember something I wanted to tell you whenever you were saying about not getting a laugh. So this happened to me at the Houston Improv.
Okay.
I had the whole crowd going except for one guy, and he was sitting in the
Oh.
front row. He sat the whole show with his arms crossed, just straight face looking at me. And I was just like, man, I just want to make this one guy. That's the crazy thing about when you get comfortable on stage, you
Hmm.
stop. You're no longer like blinded by the lights or like intimidated by the crowd or whatever. You start
Hmm.
focusing on little things, right? And I could not stop looking at this dude not laughing. I wanted to make him laugh so bad. I just wanted to get a grin out of him at one point.
Hmm.
Nothing. He gave me nothing. Go to the restroom at some point after my set, and he happened to be in there. And
Hmm.
he goes, "Hey man, you did great up there." And I recognized him, and I was watching. We were both washing our hands, and I was like, "Bro, so you didn't laugh once. Like, you're sitting in the front row. I watched you not laugh." And he goes, "Oh yeah, I don't laugh." I was like, "What?"
How do you go to a comedy show so not
I
laugh?
don't know. Why would you sit in the front row and not laugh at anything, man? But he was like, "No, that was really good." I was like, "Okay."
That's funny
Wild,
as shit,
man.
dude.
Wild. One
I
of the
feel like
weirdest
so.
experiences I've had. I've had a lot of weird experiences, but that one was
Yeah,
pretty weird, especially because it happened in the restroom.
that's pretty funny though. I
Man,
feel
one
like
time,
sometimes people go just to fuck with comics though.
yeah,
Like
but it
dude,
sucks when they do that, man.
yeah,
That does suck because other people go to watch comedy, and then
yeah, then
somebody goes and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna mess with the comedian. I'm gonna help the show." You're not. You're not
nah.
helping the show. You're not helping anything. You're just being an asshole, and you ruin
Hmm.
everybody else's night.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just remembered something else. One of the wildest things that ever happened to me. This was at the Houston Improv. After the show, I was outside, and some girl was like, "Hey, can I take a picture with you?" And I was like, "Yeah, cool, whatever." You know, that feels cool. Like it
Uh-huh.
doesn't happen that often. So I was like, "Yeah." And then we're taking the picture, and she whispers, she goes, "I want to have your baby."
Shit.
And I was just like, "Whoa, all right." It's been some wild things said to
Dude,
me
I
after
bet.
shows.
So, like in all honesty, what inspired you to do comedy? Like how did that happen?
Man, really just watching it. I watched so
Mm.
much stand up. Um, uh, that instead of watching like reality TV or anything like that, man, I would always just watch stand up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then like I mentioned earlier, I was telling these stories at house bar. I used to tell this story about a drive by that I happened to be around in. Yeah. um, some of my I mean like some people that I used to run with were slanging,
Uh-huh.
I would tell stories about that, just crazy things that happened. And then yeah, a friend of mine put the idea in my head and it just stayed in my head. It took me
Yeah.
5 years to finally get on stage and try it, but um the first time I signed up to do a show, that's the thing. I worked harder on that set than
Uh-huh.
anything else I ever, because like I went to college and stuff. I learned how to write and this and that. I edited this thing like if it was a term paper. You know what I
Oh
mean?
damn.
Like I wrote out my set and then I rewrote it, cut
Uh-huh.
out stuff, edited it. Man, I was obsessed, and
Mm-hmm.
I was super nervous. My friend recorded my very first set ever. I didn't know he was I had no idea. Uh, I stopped counting how many times. Can we cuss on this?
Yeah, yeah, you're
Yeah.
good, man.
I stopped counting how many times I said fuck after 50. Yeah. It
That was
was
your go-to word.
that was my nervous. You know how
Yeah.
people be like,
Or some
or
people say like.
like.
They say
Oh
like a
man, I
lot.
hate when people start saying like all the time. It bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I was saying fuck the whole time. Actually, after that set, uh, there was this old bartender, this old lady. She ran the bar. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I went up to her and I was like, "Hey, can I get a beer?" She's like, "Yeah, this beer's on me, but as long as you stop cursing so much when you do this again." And I didn't know what she meant at the time until my friend was like, "Hey, I recorded you. Here's the video." And then I was like, watched it. I was like, "Oh my god, no wonder she told me that." But yeah, man, I mean, I feel like a lot of comics were just fans of comedy, and then eventually,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like some of the comics that I like the most never really thought like, um, I want to be the best comic ever or whatever. It's just like you start watching comedy, you love it, and then you
Mm-hmm.
start doing it, you get addicted to it, you start learning new stuff, you start, especially meeting other comics, you learn so much stuff, watching
Mm-hmm.
all this comedy, and then man, it's very addicting
Yeah.
to get those laughs.
Oh, I bet, man.
Yeah,
I I bet. Who was like some of your favorite comics when you were coming up and kind of trying to learn? Because I mean, comedy is such an interesting thing to me.
yeah,
It's all about timing, speed, reading the room. So like, who was some of the comics that you looked up to?
bro, a lot
Like,
of white comics, unfortunately.
it's all good, man. It's all good. Look, man, my favorite comic of all time, I ain't scared to say it, is Bert Kreischer, just because I love a good
Really?
storytelling comic.
Yeah.
And like he's just one of my favorites at this point because I love the way he tells a story.
So one of
Uh,
my favorites is Tom Segura. So you know who
Tom's
he is.
hilarious
Yeah, I
too.
love
Hell
Tom.
yeah.
But when I was a kid, or yeah, like middle school, high school, I loved Ron White.
Ron White,
Yeah,
really?
yeah. I remember I was clicking through uh channels, and yeah, for the youngsters, that's before streaming. We would
Yeah,
just, instead of scrolling through which movie you want to pretend to
yeah.
watch,
The TV
you would
guide.
just, yeah, you would just click. Well, I would still click through channels, and I
Yeah.
remember it was on CMT, Country Music Television.
Uh
They
huh.
had the
Uh huh.
Blue Collar Comedy Tour, and I was like, what? They got stand up on this country channel?
Yeah.
I started watching it. Ron White hopped on. Man, he had me crying, laughing with the tater
Yeah.
salad story. And then I was still pretty young, so Larry the Cable Guy was after that. I was
Larry
like,
was
oh my
great,
god,
man.
this is the funniest I've ever
Yeah.
heard. But the first time I ever heard stand up was on a CD. And
Really.
yeah, dude, a friend of mine, I used to drive so I had a car when I was like 16. I used to drive these two girls home after
Uh huh.
school. I thought it was cool. It wasn't. Whatever. But one of them one day was like, "Hey, y'all gotta listen to this. This is the funniest thing I've ever heard." And I was like, "What?"
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was gonna be like some comedy music or some. I didn't know. She
Mm-hmm.
pops it in. It's George Lopez.
George.
The Jack in the Box joke.
Oh yeah, the Jumbo Yak,
Yeah, the Yumbo Yak.
the large cock.
That album. That's the first time I ever. That's the first time I remember hearing stand up.
Uh-huh.
And we were driving home, and I was like, I dropped her off, and I was like, "Hey, let me borrow this. I have to hear it." And
Yeah.
she's like, "No, you can hear it, the rest of it when you drop me off tomorrow." I was like, "Damn it!"
She held you up. She's like, let me secure this ride
Yeah,
real quick.
man. I'm like, damn. I guess anything beats riding the bus. But yeah, that's the first time I heard stand up, and that piqued my interest.
Hmm.
And then what I used to watch more than anything was Comedy Central Presents.
Oh
I
yeah,
had no
I
clue who these
love those.
comics were. No
Uh huh.
idea who these comics were. But
Mm-hmm.
back then I had like a DVR. I had
Yeah,
satellite. Had a
TiVo.
D. I
Uh
wish
huh.
I would have kept that DVR because there was a lot of good specials on there. Do you know who Ali Sadiq is?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
I
funny.
didn't know who he was. And I remember I had his Comedy Central Presents recorded,
Mm-hmm.
and I watched it a bunch of times because it had the
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm talking about I did see him on that, and I watched him a bunch of times on that. But the one that
Mm-hmm.
I watched him over and over again was This Isn't Happening.
I love that show with Ari
Yeah,
Shafir,
yeah.
the
Because
OG one with
whenever,
Ari.
yeah, when
Yeah.
Ali Sadiq went on there and did the Mexican Bacara Boots story, man, I watched that I don't know how many times, bro.
Uh huh.
I love storyteller comedies. Uh,
Yeah, me too, dude. Me
and
too.
it bothered me whenever I was in Houston and people were like, "Yeah, you're a storyteller," and I was like, "Nah, man, I can tell jokes.
Uh-huh.
Nah, I'm a storyteller, man. That's what I do. I tell
I,
stories."
I don't know, man. I love when someone can tell a really good story and make it funny at the end. That's one of the things that attracted me to your comedy and why I actually, saw you a couple times was because the first time I saw you, you were trying out jokes. It was I think it was like it wasn't Speedball. It was one of those where it was like during the week, everyone was trying out jokes.
Oh, okay.
You were there. Andy Higgins was there. Um, who else was
Oh,
there?
shout out to Andy Huggins. His special's about to come out. It's called
Is
Early
it
Bird
really?
Special. Yeah, yeah. It's going to be
Oh,
on a bunch of streaming platforms. Yeah.
yeah, that's dope, dude. I love Andy. I've seen him twice there too. Never knew he was on America's Got Talent until
Oh,
during
yeah.
COVID. I was flipping through America's Got Talent. I was like, holy shit, I've seen him before.
Man, it's funny because like I've done shows with Andy a bunch of times, and
Hmm.
it'll be a really good mix of people. It'll be
Yeah.
because we'll both be on the flyer, right? So it'll be a
Uh-huh.
bunch of old white people, and there'll be a bunch of Mexicans in there too.
Best.
Oh
It's
man,
the best, man.
because I'll go up, I'll do my thing, and I'll do good, right?
Uh-huh.
Andy will go up there, and all he does, I tell a bunch of stories, and then he goes up there and he does a bunch of one-liners, and man, he just
Yeah.
has everybody dying laughing.
Yeah, dude. Like,
It's awesome.
he has like the best timing that
Yeah.
I've seen for one-liners. And he
Oh
always
yeah.
throws you something that you just don't expect, which is what I love
Exactly.
about his
Yeah.
comedy. Yeah.
And but that thing that you don't expect is also going to be really funny
Yeah.
because that is something that I've noticed lately at open mics, specifically with new comics. They try to do a joke with something that you don't expect, but it's usually just the
Mhm.
most fucked up thing they can think about. It's not
Yeah.
really something funny. It's just something that's just like, what the
Is,
fuck?
is that or dick jokes? That
Yeah,
happens a lot when you're a young
yeah,
comic.
yeah,
A lot of dick
yeah.
jokes.
But I mean, I think back to my first year, and I thought I was hot shit. You know,
Hmm.
I thought I was ready to be the next big thing, and I listened
Hmm.
because I record you need to if any comics are listening that are just starting out, you got to record all of your sets.
Yeah,
I
you
go
gotta hear
back
yourself.
and I listen to those sets from when I first started. And I'm like, God, this is hot garbage, and I thought I was so good at comedy.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm like, I'm getting good now.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, when you start, it's crazy how arrogant you can be.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta be a little
A
bit
little
arrogant to
bit,
be a
yeah,
comic. Like you
yeah, a
gotta you
little
gotta
bit,
have that. Like I'm the funniest motherfucker in this room. Because if not, it's
because you
never gonna
are
work
gonna
out.
go on stage and try to make strangers laugh.
Yeah, you gotta believe in yourself. You gotta
Yeah,
have like I always tell my wife, I have stupid blind confidence in myself. I will try anything and believe that I'm gonna do it, even though, like, most likely I won't be able to do it. I tell myself, you're gonna fucking do this, and you're gonna make it happen. You gotta
nice.
have a little bit of blind confidence and arrogance. If not, it just how do you expect to make people laugh if you don't believe in your own story or your own
Right?
jokes?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It does make it. I have seen, but some comics do make the awkward thing work, but most of the time
bro.
it just confuses the
Okay,
crap out of people.
I don't know this comic's name. There's a guy that every time I've been to a secret group, he's gone, and I feel like at this point he intentionally bombs. I
Oh
can't remember
wow.
his name. He's a young comic, but he literally like every time I see him, he's bombing, but he bombs to the point where like people start laughing because it's so
Oh my
fucking bad.
god, I couldn't handle that, man.
Like,
I
and
couldn't handle that,
I think it's his thing by this point because like every time I seen him, he does it. He starts off with like the most fucked up jokes he could possibly think of. Then
man.
slowly he like starts easing up and starts getting laughs towards the end. But it's always like it's like that's his recipe at this point, you know.
That's
But
pretty wild.
it's
Uh,
rough.
I don't know why I did this, but I was at a show in Katy, and it was a
Mm-hmm.
room full of like it was like old couples.
Oh,
Everybody in
terrifying.
there was at over 50 for sure,
Uh,
and they were all on date night. My dumb ass, for some reason, I don't know, I was feeling a little arrogant, a little cocky. I was like, I'm
mhm.
gonna start off with an abortion joke. They hated it. They hated it. And I knew they were gonna hate it, and I did it anyway. And
Mhm.
then I had to dig myself out of a hole, and that is something that comics will do.
Yeah.
You'll just you'll put yourself in a hole just to see if you can get yourself out of it, which is really kind of insane to do.
But isn't that when you come up with like some really good shit? Like when you're in that zone, because you're like,
Well, that goes back to what I was saying. This is why you have to record every single set,
uh huh,
because sometimes you do come up with a new couple of words or a line or something
hmm
on the spot, and you'll forget it if you don't go back and
yeah,
listen to that recording.
yeah,
But I mean, that's a huge advantage that we have now. It's so easy,
hmm
especially on an iPhone. There's
yeah.
that
You just put your
app.
phone on the stool.
Yeah, there's their app already in your phone to record everything, and I still forget to record my sets.
Do you?
Yeah, man, I forget all the time.
Oh,
Sometimes
but
I'll go up and I'll do a bunch of jokes I've never done before,
uh-huh.
or just start coming up with stuff on the fly. And I'll pick up my phone, and I'm like, I didn't hit
Fuck.
record.
You know what? That's not that bad. I've been doing a podcast for 5 years, and at least once a year, I forget to hit record on one.
Man, I hope you didn't do it this time.
No, I made sure. See, this is why we got the software. It does the countdown and everything, so I know
Okay,
it's
nice,
recording.
nice. Because I've done a couple of podcasts where we do a whole hour plus,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh man, I forgot to hit record."
No, I do it at least once a year. Like it's always one time where I get everything set. That's why I was like, man, I gotta get rid of Zoom because Zoom automatically starts recording. So
Oh,
I would trust it, right? And
yeah.
then I look down and fuck, I just missed a whole hour with someone. And then at that point, I'm like, dude, should I tell them that I need to redo it,
Yeah,
or do I just like ignore it and try to get them back on another time?
man,
But
man.
yeah,
How long have you been doing this podcast?
uh, about 5 years.
Oh
About
wow,
5 years on and off, yeah. Yeah, so
nice.
we've been doing it for a minute, like I said, a lot of times we've tried to build a community with um not just our friends but like people we meet or like different artists that we get in contact. You're actually the second comedian on here, but really the first because the first guy he hasn't been doing comedy for a while.
Oh, that happens a
So
lot.
yeah,
That happens a lot. I can't tell you
so
how many times I've driven home after a bad show, and I'm like, why am I even trying to do this?
bro,
This
it,
sucks.
but I mean it's fun, right? Like you have fun
No,
doing
yeah,
it.
there's a lot. There's been a
Yeah.
lot more fun nights, but those bad nights do make you
Yeah.
want to quit.
Oh,
But it's the same
dude.
for any entertainer. I mean, there's musicians that have those nights,
Yeah.
comedians,
No,
actors.
I gotta tell you that night that we met you at Honeysuckle,
Yeah.
I had way too many of the gummies, bro. Like
Hey,
way too
man,
many of
shout
them.
out to that festival, dude, because they had some
Yeah.
good gummies out there.
Oh hell yeah, dude! Check it out. They hooked us up for the show.
Yeah, man. Hey, shout out to
Yeah,
Honeysuckle, man. They
they're
had the
our
good
friends,
ones.
man. Hell yeah, dude. I'm gonna have to hit up Carlos. That way we can send you some more stuff.
Oh yeah, man. That
Hell
that
yeah. But anyways, like that day, I was so excited because I was like, fuck yeah, it's 420. I haven't celebrated 420 in a while. He gave me the goodie bag as soon as I got there. My dumb ass just started eating the candy like it was nothing, dude.
man,
Um,
dude. It took me
after
like 2 months to finish those.
bro, after all y'all performed, I was talking to Trey, and I was still feeling okay, right? Like
Yeah.
it hadn't hit me yet. As soon as Trey was like, "Yeah, dude, let's step over here and let's do a quick podcast." As soon as we're about to start, that shit slapped me in the fucking face, and every question I had for Trey went out the window he ripped me the biggest asshole ever. Like he just
Oh
I have it on
man.
recording. I cut it into a clip. It was for 2 minutes straight. He just tore me up, dude. And I was
Yeah.
like, fuck, man. Like, I really fucked that one up because I was gone. I greened out that night. I was at fucking Twin Peaks. We went to Twin Peaks after to eat. And like I
After
was so
that,
yeah, and I was so high, dude. Like I got paranoid. I got like
yeah.
really fucking paranoid, and it was hitting me in waves. Like I'd come up and I'd come down, so I couldn't even eat, dude. I got so paranoid. I started walking around Twin Peaks, and they kicked me out because they got nervous that because I was just like walking around like a dumbass.
Wow, bro. Wow.
It was
That's
rough,
wild.
dude.
That is wild.
But
Oh
yeah,
man, I
so
love Trey Tutson, man. He came out with an album earlier this
uh-huh.
year.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, he got man. I love Trey Tutson, man. He's hilarious. One of my favorite comics to watch.
Yeah,
That's
he's
why I
really
went the
fucking
night
funny.
that I met you. I wasn't on that show.
I know, because so we helped Carlos get in contact with my friend Blake, who he helps on the podcast here and there. You might have seen him. He performs at the box every now and then.
Okay.
But so he was like our liaison to help Carlos find comedians. So we kind of help, connect them to him so he can connect y'all to Carlos. And I remember Abby was running late or something,
Yeah.
and and that's when Trey called you, right?
No, no,
I
no.
think that's what happened.
I
Oh,
went
okay.
because I saw that Trey was hosting.
Hmm.
He had Test for Gold, very funny comic and from
Yes.
Houston. Abby Voltman, very funny comic from Houston. And I don't remember if somebody else was on the show or not. But I was
Hmm.
like, well, these are my friends, right?
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm not doing anything. I want to go see what's up with this 420 thing. I
Hmm.
knew it was going to be a little like not a
Small
festival. What would
festival.
you like pop up thing?
Yeah, it was like a small pop up
Yeah,
festival.
and I was like, if
So,
anything, I could get some stuff for myself,
hmm.
right? So yeah, I really just went to watch them.
Uh-huh.
And but then yeah, when Abby was running late, Trey was like, "Man, you want to do 5 minutes till she gets here?" And I was like, "Sure."
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it was fun. It was a fun
Dude,
show.
you killed
But
it.
it does suck doing comedy outside. Doing comedy outdoors is not ideal.
Yeah, and see, like when we all talked about it, we initially thought it was gonna be indoors.
Yeah,
And then, they decided to do it outdoors because they're expecting a lot of people.
yeah,
Which I mean, throughout the day there was a lot of people. Like when 420 kicked off, like there was a shitload of people. He was showing me videos of it. It was packed. So I mean, in a way, he made a good call. But for the comedy part, with that train going by, it wasn't the best experience. It made
yeah.
it really rough. Like
But
I
it
felt bad
happens.
after that. Yeah, but like I felt bad, right? Because like we kind of helped book you guys, and I know Blake sold it up to the train and everybody. Like I said, we weren't expecting it to be outdoors that day. We were expecting it
Well,
indoors.
after that goodie bag that they gave us, nobody was tripping.
That was bad.
Nah, nobody was mad, bro. That yeah. You
Yeah.
know what we did after that? We went and
Mhm.
watched the Super Mario movie.
Oh, that's a great movie when you're high.
Bro, I laughed so much at this
Yeah.
stupid movie. I actually I'm never gonna watch it again because I have a good memory of it. I just remember enjoying this dumbass movie because I've heard other people be like, "Man, that movie was stupid. It sucked," and I was like, "Man, I couldn't stop laughing."
That was a great movie.
Yeah, but man,
Yeah.
getting kicked out of Twin Peaks.
Yeah, dude, they got worried because I'm still
You
like,
know what? It happens more often than you think. I'll tell you
yeah, no. You know,
that.
the crazy part is that's like the third bar I get kicked out for something stupid in Houston.
Not even
So
being too drunk, just something else.
not even no, just random shit.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, it
Damn,
happens.
you gotta take it easy, man. Damn.
It just happens, man. But yeah, huge shout out to Honeysuckle, man. They threw a great,
No, yeah,
a
that
great
was
show.
awesome. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
and now they're getting their own place soon, so
Oh,
I hope
really?
we can do it
That
again
place was
next
pretty
year.
cool though. Where
Yeah,
they
yeah,
were.
yeah. The farmers market.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was really
that's
cool.
what I
But
was trying to say. A farmer's market. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. But apparently they're getting their own spot, so hopefully next year they can run it back.
yeah.
maybe
Hopefully,
maybe
man.
have it all indoors.
That was fun. That was a good time.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but yeah, for sure. I'm gonna have to get with you that way. I can get Carlos to hook me up to send you some more honeysuckle stuff up there.
Oh yeah, that would be dope.
Hell yeah, we'll do that after the show. Um, but yeah, no, but yeah. So I bombed that. So believe me, I know what it feels like to fuck shit up or bomb something really bad. I was so embarrassed, dude. Like my friends that were with me, they're like, what happened? You had it all perfect. Like I literally planned all my questions, everything. Like I had
Yeah.
it to the T. Like I had it all nice and tight. It was gonna be a quick 15-minute interview, and it just boom, everything out the window.
Hey, it'll happen. It'll happen with some good gummies.
Oh hell yeah, man! That's why I only eat half of them on that podcast, right? I eat half in the beginning and half after as a reward.
But shout out to Trey, man. He's the best. I love Trey.
Huge shout out to everybody that went out there. You know, shout out to you too for going out there and hopping on, not even expecting to hop on that night.
Yeah,
I
no, that
mean,
was cool.
you
I
killed
do
it, dude.
I do love showing up somewhere and then they'll be like, "Hey, you want to go on?" That shit feels cool.
Oh, I bet, man. Is that like when you know you're doing something right when people are like, hey, come over here, hop on stage real quick.
Yeah, but that
Uh,
only happens to me in Houston. That doesn't happen to me anywhere else.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Come on, man. Don't
But
say it like that. Don't be all depressed. Let's yet.
well, I ain't trying to sound like I'm bragging either, you know.
Oh,
I know my place.
you're a funny ass dude, man. You're gonna get there for sure. I have no doubt about it. Like I said, I've seen you. I've seen you perform. I've seen you do your thing. I know you got it. I know you're gonna do it. I know Austin's a scary place because it's a whole new world, right?
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of opportunities out here. There's a lot of cool stuff happening out here.
Hell yeah,
Uh,
especially with all the Oh, I mean, the
yeah,
comedy scene in Austin's blowing up, isn't it? Now
yeah.
with everyone moving out there.
Like 5 or 6 clubs just on in
Mm.
downtown that are all like within a mile or two of each other. You
Yeah.
can walk to each club and do so many spots in one night, but I mean, you got to earn it, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Um, but once you get in there, you doing comedy on the weekends all night. It's
Hell yeah.
it's
So
just the goal, man.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sure of it, man. I'm sure that's what took you there, right? All the opportunities that are there.
yeah. You just
You
gotta
got to
work
go
for
move.
it.
Yeah. Watch, man. Give it to the next year. You're gonna be on Kill Tony.
Oh man,
That show's crazy, man. Kill Tony has done some crazy things these past couple years. But okay. So you said you grew up in a really small town in Houston.
yeah,
Um, what was one of the craziest experiences you had? Because I mean, small towns in Houston, right outside of Houston, I know all sorts of crazy shit happens. You know,
yeah.
everyone's. Houston's the craziest fucking town I've ever lived in. I mean, you can be gang banging on one block and riding a horse on the next block.
Well, like the town I grew up in, it's called Willis, Texas. It's an hour north of Houston, so it's really not even in Houston.
Yeah,
But when I say I'm from Willis, nobody knows what I'm talking about. So I always just say I'm from Houston. Um, one of the craziest things that happened in that town, I mean, I, other than that, I mean, I probably shouldn't talk about this drive-by, but I mean, that was pretty wild.
it was a legend, allegedly.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple of shootouts that I was in, like around.
Yeah,
That's the way I'll put it.
yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty crazy for a small town. Uh, but
Like I said,
uh,
man,
what else happened in that damn? Oh, a lot of big fires that almost got out of control.
bro.
Uh, there's something about small towns. You're gonna burn shit
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you're bored on a Friday, Saturday. Somebody just like, hey, I'm gonna have a bonfire, and then
Next thing you know, the
shit
fuse will
gets out
blow.
of hand. Yeah, shit gets out of hand fast. One time, we ran out of shit to burn. So this
Uh-huh.
fool grabbed a tractor tire that was just
Oh,
laying around and threw it in there, and it blew up. And yeah, we
mm-hmm.
all got pretty lucky that nobody got hurt.
Yeah,
Um,
dude.
definitely seen a lot of injuries in
Of
Willis
course.
from
You got
people
to.
jumping off of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, people jumped off of stuff a lot. Roofs, ridges.
It's a lot of hold my
Uh,
beer situations, huh?
yeah, a whole lot of hold my beer situations. A lot of shooting guns. Man, there was this. We were out shooting guns at my buddy's property, and my buddy had this scope on his rifle, and it didn't have any kind of protect like cushion on it, right?
Uh-huh.
So we were telling this dude, hey, don't put that scope on your eye. Like leave some space because when it kicks back, it's gonna hit
Uh-huh.
you in the face. And he's like, I got it. And then next thing you know, he's just got this perfect circle cut around, and then he had the perfect black eye
Yup.
for a couple of weeks because his dumbass didn't listen, and he tried to look. He put the scope right on his eye. It's just it's weird. But yeah, man, it's weird. Growing up in a small town, like especially that close to a major city, like you still kind of want to gang bang a little bit, but you
Dude, that's what I'm
start
saying,
liking
man.
country shit,
That's what
which
I'm
is
saying, man.
weird. Like
Houston's the weirdest fucking place in the
because I
world.
remember we would be rolling up to these country bars, you know,
Uh-huh.
and I love to dance. Like now, I just dance Mexican music. I go to bailes and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
But for a while, I was going to these country ass bars and two stepping. But the
Hell
whole
yeah.
ride up there, we were jamming SPM and shit like
Hell yeah.
that. You know, a Zero,
That's what I'm
SPM,
saying,
Swisher
man.
House, chopped and screw music. And we go up in there and it's nothing but country music and
Yup. That's what I'm saying.
yeah, man.
Houston's the only fucking place in the world where you can
Yeah.
have a gangbanger on a horse.
Yeah, yeah. I was in a house. I was at a house party in Houston at 3 in the morning. Some dude showed up on a white horse out of
But
nowhere. He
he,
wasn't. He wasn't invited to the party.
he just
He
popped
just
up,
was
right?
like, yeah, just some old dude on a horse. And then all the girls were like, "Oh my god, can I blah blah blah?" And I was like, "Man, this dude knew exactly what he was doing."
Oh yeah.
but
Oh man, I
but
love
yeah, man,
Houston.
Houston is. I used to hate Houston when I lived in that town.
I bet because you're so far.
Yeah, and then you get caught up in this small town bullshit, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But then when I started doing comedy is when I started going to Houston a lot, and then I started
Mm-hmm.
to find places that I liked. Because before I would just go to Washington, and I was like, man, fuck this
Yeah.
shit.
Dude, I hate
Or
Washington.
yeah, I mean, the older you get, the more that you hate clubby spots,
Mm.
right?
Yup.
Um, but yeah, I started finding places that I like, bars that I
Mm-hmm.
like, comedy clubs the most. I'm always down there doing that. Even places to eat. And
Mm-hmm.
Houston is beautiful. It has so
Yeah.
much to offer. You just got to know where to go.
That's 100%
It's,
true.
it's it's not like in Austin you can just go downtown and you're gonna have plenty of bars, plenty of restaurants,
Mhm,
blah blah blah. Right? In Houston,
mhm.
it's spread out,
Yeah, it's
and you
really
gotta
spread out.
find the vibe that you want to
Yeah,
find.
yeah.
Because like man, shit, I used to go to like '01. I used to go to Escapade every weekend, bro.
Yeah,
That
buddy.
was my shit. I would go to '01, I'd go to the flea market, to the Tia Pancha on Sundays.
Yeah,
But you
buddy.
know, at the same time, on the weekends, I mean, shit, going to Midtown, going to
Mhm.
Washington, going
Main
to
Street.
Main Street now. Yeah, Main Street's
Yeah,
cool. It really popped off over the years. There's just a lot of cool. Everything in Houston just so spread out though.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because like you want to go to some weird ass spots, you go to the Edo district,
Yeah, yeah,
and
that's where I go now.
yeah, which I love
It's
the Edo district. You got the truck
yeah,
yard, you got the secret group,
yeah.
you got that new club next to the secret group that's kind of
Oh yeah,
weird.
a little bit. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of weird places in Houston.
Yeah, no, I
Man,
love
one time I
Houston,
ended up at after hours in a church.
bro.
Have you been there?
I think I
I'll tell you what, man. Sorry, I walked in there. I
uh huh,
paid the cover,
uh huh,
and then I left. I walked in
bro.
there for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and I turned around and got out. It
Yeah,
creeped me out. Uh,
no,
I don't
yeah, it's
remember what I
crazy.
was on, but it freaked me the fuck out.
Yeah, it's crazy though, because like there's even a movie theater in Houston that's in a church. Like you go
Oh,
into
I
the
don't know about
church.
that one.
Yeah, it's like some low key like indie film movie theater, but you go in there and it's a church with pews. Like you sit in the pews to watch the movie.
That's wild.
It's trippy as fuck. And then
Have
you
you
have,
heard
I
of
mean,
Don't Tell Comedy?
yes,
Yeah, we
it
did a Don't Tell show in the church in Houston once.
not. Oh, was that a no? Because Blake was telling me he did a showcase for some show in a synagogue. like in a
Oh
Jewish
no, that
synagogue.
wasn't it. No, this was a Catholic church. They had the
Okay.
cross in there still and everything, bro.
Yeah, no,
It
real
was
quick.
in a Mexican neighborhood and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's cool, man. That's wild. Like I said, Houston's such a wild place. There's this after club in Montrose that if you go into it, it looks a little sus, but it's not that sus until they pull out the
yeah.
little elephant statue. They have this little
Okay.
elephant statue. It's like tiny, right? But it's Montrose. Keep in mind, it's
Yeah,
Montrose,
yeah.
so it's already weird. But at a certain point of the night, they roll out this little elephant statue and put it in the middle of the dance floor.
I don't know about that one.
That's when you gotta be like, I might need to check out this place really soon. It gets really weird when that shit happens.
No, I like Montrose. Montrose is cool. But yeah,
There's a lot
Houston
of
has
cool
a lot to
spots.
offer. It's just you have to know where to go.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
don't know where to go, you're gonna think Houston sucks.
yeah.
Because
Dude,
that's what I used to think.
when I was 21, I hated Houston. I was like, man, there ain't no places to go to. There ain't
Yeah,
this, there ain't that.
because you don't know.
You don't.
You don't know the good spots to go. But I mean, I still like. I've always. Uh, I shouldn't say always. When I started listening to a lot more Mexican music,
Hmm.
I started going to Houston a lot.
Yeah.
Going to
Hell
01,
yeah.
going to rodeos, to jaripeos.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What Jaripels were you going to?
The one that I was going to the most towards the end was Villarreal. It's on the north side,
Okay.
off of 59 and Little York and
Okay.
59.
I think I've
Yeah,
been to
yeah.
that one. I
But
think
back in the day, there was this other one called El Dorado that we used to go to.
I never went to that
Um,
one.
Plaza Garibaldi's always been there, but
Hell yeah.
that one's huge. It's kind of annoying.
Hmm.
Uh, I like going to Villarreal because it's a little smaller than Garibaldi and it's not as
Hmm.
expensive because
Yeah.
Garibaldi takes big acts. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I ain't
Yeah.
trying to pay $100 to go to a freaking Jaripeo, man.
Right.
Yeah, because yeah, but
That
I
shit
do
does
love
sound.
that shit.
Hell yeah.
And
That's dope, man.
but yeah, like I would go to Dallas a lot just to go to O1 too up there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Is that one
that
better?
man, I hate to admit it, but yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Escapade in Dallas got some going on.
Hell
It's
yeah.
fun up there, man. But yeah, there's Jaripeos all over Texas. I love going to Jaripeo
Hmm.
still. So when I started comedy, like I would talk about going to Mexico. Well, I still do. I talk about
Hmm.
going to Mexico. I go to Mexico a lot,
Yeah.
multiple times a year to the rancho that my parents are from.
Hell yeah.
I go to the baile, I go to Jaripeos, and like I remember comments were like, "Hey, you're like Mexican for real," and I'm like, "What?"
See, that was one of the things I wanted to ask you today. Because, like, when you come to Texas, right, especially being someone from outside, you're going to meet two types of Mexicans. You're going to meet
Yeah,
Tejanos, or
yeah,
you're going to
yeah,
meet Mexican Tejanos, right?
yeah,
And I have gotten to experience both of them, which is really cool. But I always like to ask, like, are you like the type that goes to Mexico or the type that's like, oh, I don't speak Spanish?
yeah. Nah, man. Like, whenever they told me that, it really messed with me because I was born here, bro.
Hmm.
So I never felt like a real Mexican because when I
Yeah,
go to Mexico, they call me güero,
yeah,
and they know that I'm from over here. They know I'm
yeah.
not Mexican, and that's always been something that's messed with my head. So whenever these comics were like, "Yo, you're Mexican for real," I was like,
Hmm.
"Y'all don't know real Mexicans then, because
Exactly.
I'm not."
Exactly.
Because like I'm barely scratching the surface of that shit.
Right.
I like doing all that. I like going. I love I love going to
Cool.
Mexico. I love going to
Hell yeah.
Vilas. I love everything about it. But when I go to Mexico, they're like, "Yeah, you're a white boy,"
Oh, for sure, dude.
which
Likewise, likewise. I mean,
pisses me off. I hate that
it's
so much,
it's the
but whatever,
accent. It's the accent, right? It's being that Mexican American where you go in
bro. It's not
Mexico.
even the way that I talk. I've been told that uh, Americans walk different.
Mhm.
We're different. We have a different way
Different
that
kind of car
we
step.
yeah.
Yeah.
They made it sound like you're just an arrogant American, but I was like, whatever.
No,
But
yeah.
it is something weird, man. Like when I'm in Mexico, um, and my other cousins are there, I mostly
Mhm.
speak to them in English because it's easiest for us to communicate that way, right? But it does piss off other people that we're
Oh
speaking
yeah.
English in Mexico, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, we're drinking and shit. We don't think about it. It just comes out
Mhm.
naturally, right? And
Yep.
then like something small, like if I go to a Mexican restaurant with a bunch of like white friends,
Mhm.
I feel like an asshole ordering my
Speaking
food in
Spanish.
Spanish to
Yep.
But then if I
Uh-huh.
don't, I also feel like an asshole because I'm like, this waitress knows that I know Spanish.
Yep. Yep.
And I'm
I
still
know your
ordering
exact
it.
your exact
Bro,
dilemma.
I always have a dilemma of where to say queso or queso, which is
Right?
something so stupid and so small, but
Right?
man, it is something that I have to like,
Or,
all right,
or
how
or
am I gonna say
fajitas
this?
and fajitas.
Yeah, dude. I mess up my own name a lot
Oh really?
because my last name is Saldana.
Uh-huh.
But I always have to last second decide, am I gonna say my name in English
In
or in
Spanish.
Spanish how it's supposed to be?
Yep.
And I've had people tell me like, always say your name how it's supposed to be said. And I'm like,
Mhm.
it doesn't bother me to be called Saldana.
I mean, you've
If
been called
it's
that your whole life,
Yeah,
right?
I'm like, if it's easier for this person that's about to bring me up on stage to say Saldana instead of
Mhm.
Saldana,
Uh-huh.
which is still wrong because it's Saldana.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter to me, right? Because it's just
Yeah.
an accent. It's a different way to say it. But some people are very hardcore about like, no,
Oh
you should
yeah.
be. They should say your name how it's supposed to be said. I'm like, man, chill out, bro. I live in the
Right.
real world.
Right. I mean, it sucks though, because like I've always had that issue too. Especially being a mechanic here in Houston, right? Like I grew up in a very white dominant. Well, I worked in a white dominant field,
Yeah,
but the advantage I had was all the people that are running these machines, the tractors, the bobcats, and all that speak Spanish, right? So I always I learned to just go with Spanish first, right? Because it makes them feel more comfortable. And
yeah.
most of the time they'll talk to you. Same thing like when you go to a restaurant and you speak Spanish first, they're instantly comfortable with you. They're like, all right, this guy's not fucking
But you know
around.
the downside of that is
What?
sometimes you'll speak Spanish to somebody and they'll be like, I speak English. And you're like,
Yeah.
damn, man, I'm trying to help you out.
Right? No, the worst is when they tell you I speak English and then they have like a really heavy accent.
Bro,
And
that's
you're like,
exactly what
dude,
I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about, bro.
yo.
But then they get mad because you're like, but I
Yeah.
respect that too because I'm like, hey, you're trying to learn, like you're trying to,
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, damn, man, I'm trying to help you. Like
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. No, that shit's
Yeah,
rough, man.
it is weird. Yeah, are you fluent in Spanish?
Yeah, yeah, I'm fluent. Spanish was my first language. English was my
Okay.
second. Actually,
You remember that? Sorry to keep going off the rails here,
what
but
happened?
do you remember Spanish being your first language?
Yeah, yeah.
You do.
So I remember it, and I'm gonna tell you why I remember it. So my mom, my parents both immigrated to the United States. Like
Yeah,
they
same
they
here.
were. So when I grew up, all they knew. My dad spoke English, because he grew up in a border town, so he
Okay.
knew English. But my mom did not know a lick of English.
Okay.
So like I grew up with her, obviously, and she raised me speaking Spanish. And the reason I know that was my first language is because when I went to school, I couldn't read. I didn't understand it
Oh, because it was all
because
in English.
yeah, and the thing was, my mom would read me bedtime stories and things like that, but she didn't know English, so it was all broken. So when I went to school, like I was like, I don't fucking know. And the thing that fucked me up the most was I went to school, elementary school, started learning English, started picking it up, and then we went back to Mexico for like 6 months. So I went
Oh.
to school over there. I learned Spanish all over, and then came back and struggled with
Oh.
English again.
See,
Yeah.
that makes
So
it different.
yeah. So I mean, I was lucky. I was lucky that the school I went to in California, they had a lot of programs for Spanish speakers.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of tutoring and shit like that, so I could learn how to read English. But yeah, it fucked me up for a good while.
The reason I asked you is because, like, I know that English was my second language, but I don't remember it that way.
Okay.
I just remember always knowing English.
Mhm.
But whenever we moved, because I grew up in Dallas, that's where I was born. When we
Okay.
moved from Dallas to that small town Willis,
Mhm.
they put me in an ESL class.
Mhm.
Because when my mom was filling, this is what I think happened. When my mom was filling out the paperwork, she didn't know any English.
Uh huh.
I was 7, so I didn't say shit. So
Yeah.
they just assumed that I didn't know English, right? So they stick me in ESL, And I have no fucking clue what's going on.
That's the
Dude, I was in ESL for second grade and they took me out of there because they were like, this kid knows English. Yeah, man.
That's funny as shit.
Yeah,
No,
it's.
it sucks though, right? Did you ever have the situation where you would get something from school and your mom would ask you, "What does it say?" or your parents would ask you, "What does it say?" and you're like, "I don't know how to explain it to you. Like, I don't know how to translate it
Oh,
anymore." And I'm like, "¿Pa qué chingados vas a la escuela así?"
yeah, yeah. Man, you know who has a good joke about that is Ralph Barbosa.
Does he?
Yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
I've heard it.
I don't want to butcher it. It's on one of his things on YouTube, but
Is it?
basically the school calls his house and he's like, well, nobody else knows what they're saying. So, but yeah, he's got a good joke about that.
I'm gonna have to look it up.
But man, yeah, like my dad knew English, but he would still make me order for him in the drive-through and shit like
hmm
that. I
hmm
hated that. I hated ordering in the drive-through from the back seat. You just got this. And then I worked at one of my first jobs was Burger King.
Oh, was
And
it?
I remember working at Burger King in the drive-through, and I would hear some little kid's voice through the intercom, and I'm like, "Man, this poor fucking kid has to order for his whole family from the back seat."
Then the worst was when you got the order wrong. I don't know about
Oh,
you, but
dude!
that was the worst. If you fucked up one thing, it was over with.
But there was time because like I speak Spanish, so I would hear a kid's voice, and I'd be like, "Yo hablo español," and they would still make the kid order it.
Uh huh.
I don't
That's a
know what that
comfort
was
thing.
about, man.
That's a
I don't know
comfort
what that
thing,
was
man.
about. But yeah, translating as a kid sucks. Don't.
Yeah, don't do
It's
it.
it's so much unnecessary pressure that you feel because you don't want to mess it up, and
Yeah,
you also don't want to get yelled at for saying that you don't know.
exactly. But the worst thing is like they ask you for the most important shit. I remember my mom one time having bank statements and like asking me what it says. I was like,
Oh,
I don't fucking know how to translate this.
yeah, yeah. Um, you ever had like a gym phase where you're working out and
Yeah,
shit?
yeah.
Dude, I was in Mexico and we were getting leña, firewood.
hmm hmm
And they were like, "Hey, move this big ass log," and I was like, "Shit, I can't get it." And they were like, "Oh, that's what you go to the gym for? You can't even lift this?" And I was like, "Fuck, dude, they set me up.
They set
They
you up.
set me
The
up just
worst
to
thing,
talk shit."
bro. The worst thing is the oldest person will pick that shit up like it's
I
nothing.
know, dude. That's
You're
exactly
like,
what happened. My uncle walked over there and picked it up, and I was
right?
just like, "Damn."
Hell no. That happened to me one time. I don't remember what we were trying to move, but it was me, my dad, my two brothers, and my uncle, and like we're all struggling. My uncle with a fucking limp walks over and picks it up like it's nothing. He's like, "This is what you guys work out for?"
Yeah, dude. That old man strength.
Dude,
That old man strength is
old
different.
magic is crazy. I got respect for that, man. I learned that so quick working as a mechanic. There's this old man, and like when I worked as a mechanic was when I worked out a lot, like especially when I was
Yeah.
younger. And I used to arm wrestle everybody. And this old man, dude, fucking scraggly old man, ready to retire. He's like, "Let me arm wrestle you before I quit."
No
And
shit.
I was like, "Man, I don't want to hurt you." He's like,
No
"No."
shit.
He's like, "Put 20 on it, bro." He let me bring him down and
Yeah.
think that I had him, and he just boom. And I was like,
Wow, dude.
"God damn." I never fuck with old people after that, man.
Yeah, man. Old man got that
You got
farm
that on.
strength.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah,
Especially
dude.
someone like that that's been turning a wrench his entire life.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh man, I think one of the most country things I ever did. Me and my buddy, we put a lift kit on my truck.
Uh
Yeah,
huh.
and we installed it ourselves. And we're in his dad's garage doing it, and we used this torque wrench,
Uh huh.
right, to get it how it says in the specs. And his dad walks out there. He goes, "A torque wrench, huh?" And he just walked away, and I was just like, "Damn, dude!" He didn't even call us bitches, but I know that's what he just called us.
Nah, you know what
You
though?
know?
When you're a mechanic for that long, you have these weird fucking pops, bro. I know when I pull 100 pounds on a wrench because my shoulder
Yeah.
pops. Yeah, The old man
You
used to
just
tell me,
know?
he's like, I got it built in, bro. You just push down and
No,
pop.
fuck.
When my shoulder gives out, that's 100 pounds.
Damn, dude, go get your shoulder checked out. What the fuck?
Just what
But
it
man,
needs, man.
when we finished, it took us forever to put that lift kit in. But when we finished, we were like, hell yeah, we fucking did
Hell
that
yeah.
shit. Yeah,
Hell yeah.
yeah,
That's the best feeling in the world, dude. I don't care who you are or what you do for a living. When you put a lift kit on something or you do something to your car and
yeah,
it works, you're
yeah,
flying high.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The only thing that I really tried to get good at was installing stereos. But man,
Hell yeah.
I ruined my computer in an '88 Caprice that I had,
Oh
and then
no.
I stopped dabbling with stereos. Cause that was $800 I had to spend extra.
Yeah, dude, that shit
And I was like,
sucks.
yeah, I'm gonna just go back to my. I had a cousin that did it, so I was like, yeah, I'll
Uh-huh.
just go to him.
It happens, man. It's the trials of and
Man,
errors of life.
speaking about something unique about Texas and Houston, and I
Hmm.
say Houston and Dallas still, maybe San Antonio, man, having
Hmm.
a system in your car.
Hell yeah. You got to.
Yeah.
No, you know what's really unique to Texas is having the horns outside the car.
Oh.
Like the speakers
Yeah.
outside. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's when you know you're in
You talking
Texas.
about the train horns?
Yeah, no, not just the train horns. When you have the speakers on the outside,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
full
Yeah.
system. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that.
man. But like there was a time, it was like right like early 2000s, a lot of people had train horns in their grills.
Hell yeah.
So man, I hated whenever like at a stoplight or something, somebody would just pull up. Oh man, it scared the shit out of you, bro, because it's
Oh
so
yeah.
loud. Um,
So
but man, I
so
had a oh, look, real quick, I had to brag on my Caprice, bro. I
hell yeah,
had
bro.
at one point, man, I had 510s in my trunk.
Damn.
That shit hit
That's
so
a
hard it made my
traveler.
muffler fall
Hell yeah. I believe that.
off. Yeah.
I believe that, man. Dude, that's wild. No, it's a funny thing when those train horns were real big. Me and my friends were in auto tech, and we had this friend that everyone fucked with. We always fucked with them. And one day, we're all drinking, and my friend passed out in like the bushes at another friend's house. And my buddy was like, "Hey, dude, I just got this train horn from Amazon." He's like, "Let's go hook it up on his car."
Yeah.
And I was like, "All right, let's go do it." So he's passed out, right? So we're not even worried about him. We hook it all up, and I was like, "This isn't good enough, man. Let's tie it to his brake light." So we tied it to his brake light.
No,
He goes,
dude.
and this is a little ass '99 Honda Civic, bro.
No.
He goes in the next morning. We're all like, we all slept over, right? So we're all in like this dude's room, just passed out, and he's waking up because he has to go to work the next morning. And all we hear is, "What?"
Yeah, dude.
And he had no fucking idea. It was the funniest shit ever, dude. He was like, "What the fuck did you guys do?"
Oh man, dude, y'all must have scared the shit.
Oh, dude, you should have seen him. He jumped out that car and he was like, "What the fuck's going on?"
Damn.
Oh man,
Damn.
I love fucking with your friends, man.
Yeah, there's nothing like it, man.
That's the best part about growing up around here. You get into all sorts of weird shit and you make some really good fucking friends.
Yeah, man. The
Yeah.
car culture in Houston is definitely unique.
Oh yeah, the slams, the trucks, everything, man.
You ever been to damn, what's it called it's in Conroe, Texas Heat Wave?
I have not. I know what it
Oh,
is. I've never been.
yeah, man, you'll see everything.
Yeah.
Lowriders, drop trucks, classic cars. It's
Hmm.
Mexicans, black people, old white dudes. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's
Yeah.
one of the wildest truck shows. I mean, car shows ever, bro.
Yeah.
You'll see a little bit of everything. Because
Yeah.
what I used to go to a lot of Houston was Los Magnificos car show.
Yeah. Those are dope.
Yeah,
Those
because
are
they would have
dope.
a concert too.
Hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've been to like two of those. Those are really dope. I love the way they used to do them. I haven't
I
been on
mean,
to.
I don't even know if they still do them anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if they do, but I've been to two of them and they were dope. I really like those.
I hadn't thought about that in a long time. Got me over
Hell
here
yeah.
reminiscing, man.
Hell yeah, man.
I'm
That's
gonna
what it's
move
all
back to
about.
Houston after this podcast.
Hell yeah, man. That way I could go catch a show or two.
Hell yeah.
No, but yeah. I mean, that's fucking dope. But anyways, I mean, I've had a great time sitting here talking with you, but I know we're about an hour and a half. I'm sure you're a pretty busy dude. So, Jessi, we're at the point of the show where I like giving the show over to you and letting you pretty much promote yourself, tell the listeners where they can find you, where we can go see you. It's your time to shine, buddy.
Oh yeah, man. Instagram is where I post the most, and I'm most active on Instagram. It's at Theo Jessi, TIOJESSI. Yeah, that's it right there. Appreciate that. When does this come out?
It'll be out next Friday.
Oh, okay. So, have you heard of Alfred Robles? He's blowing up on Instagram Reels and like TikTok right now. Comics from LA. Super funny guy.
Mm-hmm.
Alfred Robles. I'm opening for him. I'm hosting for him at the Houston Improv November 7th. So
Oh, hell
Houston
yeah.
Improv November 7th. Come through to that. It's gonna be, man. This dude is so funny. I've
Oh,
worked with
yeah.
him before. Hilarious, and his reels and TikToks are so funny, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for this show. So November 7th, Houston Improv. Definitely come through for that.
Fuck yeah. Are y'all doing multiple shows or just one show?
Nah, this is just one night.
Okay. What time is it?
I
Do
think
they
it's
have
at
they released it?
7:30.
7? Okay.
7:30.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna put that on my calendar. I'm gonna try to
Hell
figure it
yeah,
out.
man. Yeah, November 7th.
Hell
So
yeah.
come through for that. And if anybody's ever in Austin, every Tuesday at the Creek in the Cave, I'm hosting a show at 10 p.m. It's called Onslaught Comedy. So yeah, come through for that if you're ever in Austin on a Tuesday.
Hell yeah, man. No, that's dope, dude. I'm glad to see a Houston comic, make it out to Austin. I know there's great
Yeah,
things
man, we're
coming your
trying to do
way.
some things out here.
Hell yeah. And I'm gonna do my best to be at that show because I really want to see you perform and see Alfred Robles perform. I know
Yeah,
that's
man,
gonna be
he's
a good
great,
time.
man.
Hell yeah, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hell yeah, this was fun,
Obviously,
man.
hell yeah, it was a blast. I can't wait to have you on again. If you ever want to come back on,
Hell
just let
yeah,
us
hell
know.
yeah.
If you ever got anything to promote, just hit us up. We'll share your links. We'll share your Instagram pages. Any shows you got coming up, just let us know. We love to show love on this podcast. So, and that's what we're all about, right? We're all
Hell
about
yeah.
building a community, building a network, and getting y'all's names out there. So, just hit us up whenever you want. We'll be more than happy to have you on the show. Thank you again for coming on. This has been Jessi Saldana. I'm gonna get it right,
Thank
Saldana,
you.
on the Weekly D podcast. I'm your host, Danny G, and thank you guys for tuning in. And remember, if you can't get it daily, get it weekly. Peace. Stick around a little bit. I want to